welcome to another day in the Matrix. This is Red Pill Podcast 129, and the Jubilee is officially over. I hope you guys are all having an amazing weekend so far. This is a day that we've been talking about for so long, and we're finally here, and I'm really excited to get going in today's podcast. We had an amazing podcast last week that we live streamed. I had such a good time doing that with you guys, taking a moment to really go deep into everything that's happening in this market, and then spending a little bit of time with you at the end answering some questions. So we will absolutely do that again in the future. I had a blast, and if you haven't checked out last week's Red Pill podcast, definitely check it out. It was packed with gems, and we're going to be going over a lot of that stuff again today, but I have a very special decode to share with you about a date that is coming up very soon, next week. So I'm excited to get into all of that. Don't want to waste any more time. Again, welcome to the Red Pill Podcast. If you are new here to the Wolfpack, welcome. So great to have you here with us. If you haven't gotten access to the Discord yet, just go ahead and send me a direct message on Patreon with your Discord username and the last four numbers after your username, and I will reply back to you in a Patreon message with that Discord server invite. As well, we did amazing with the coin voting system on our altcoins this week. We have so much to get into today with the altcoins. I believe we'll be covering Solana, Energy Web Token, Polygon, VeChain, and Vitho, as well as WorldCoin. So we've gone over a couple of these quite a bit this year, but we're at that moment right now where we know we're kind of getting close, and we want to have some of these bigger projects that we've been talking about for a while, just a little recap to kind of, get back on track, have some clear targets to settle on, and then this will help us, of course, strengthen our investment thesis even further. So that's what we got going on today. I will be touching a little bit on the traditional markets just because of what we have in the setup to this week with the FOMC meeting, and we know that these traditional markets do hold a lot of weight in the energy of what's going on with Bitcoin, therefore the entire cryptocurrency market. So also, just a quick reminder of the flash sale that I'm running over on my courses for our mastermind community here. That sale will be ending later tonight. So if you want to take advantage of that 25% off discount, you can use the promo code MASTERMIND at checkout. It's very simple. Just go to my website, watersabove.com, add the course that you want to the cart, and when you get to checkout, just use this promo code. This will give you 25% off your order, and this discount is even bigger than the one that I offered to the public in my last YouTube video. So make sure to use this specific promo code if you were looking to invest in one of my courses. Again, I greatly appreciate all of your support, and this is a really great time to invest in yourself in something like this because you will be prepared so far in advance for the next cycle that we're about to move into. And that's pretty much what we're going to start focusing on now. We're shifting everything over because we're no longer in the Shemitah year. That's past us. Now we're no longer in the Jubilee year. Now that's past us. So we're moving on to the next phase, which I'm calling phase 2 of the bull run. We're still kind of in that phase 1 where we've gotten a little bit of bullish, a little bit of excitement, and you know how the apex predator, you know how the market maker likes to play this particular moment. When people are feeling good, they like to inject a little chaos. They want to add confusion, uncertainty, and that's what we're moving into in the short term. But overall, we will be pivoting into phase 2 probably by, I want to say, November into December. So we're right there. We're in that transition point. And this is why we need to get focused, prepared, and just really have a dialed in investment thesis right now, because the 99%, they have no idea what's going on. They really do not know how to respond to this. They wait till things are euphoric and they get FOMO in, and then again when things are already moving up, this is where the greed sets in. Rinse, repeat. It's really difficult for newer investors to take action. Sometimes they get so confused and so lost that they don't even take any action. They don't even get invested. So I know that a lot of people are newer here to the community. Some people that are here haven't even invested in crypto. They haven't even started investing. And that is perfectly fine. This is actually a beautiful time to get aware and to get started. Way better than it would have been at the peak of the last cycle in 2021. So again, this is not to hype anything up or to give you artificial confidence. This is me being a real one and telling you exactly how I feel about where we are right now. And that's really why I'm so excited about this. And I know that right now the world has a lot of chaos, a lot of darkness, a lot of negativity. I get that. But here in this community, we've been so prepared for everything that's happening right now that for me, getting through these last 2 to 3 days almost feels like a big energetic shift and like a sigh of relief. I just feel really good about what's going on here, and I definitely have to say that it's because of you guys. Here in this community, what we're doing is so beautiful and it's so rare. So we're just riding the wave right now, and it's important that we focus on collaboration. So this is where our Discord is perfect. Make sure to utilize our Discord server. You don't need to go directly to me with these messages, with these general questions. Ask the community and you will have all of us collaborating. And whenever I get around to it, of course, I'll share my thoughts. But I pretty much cover all of the big crucial information here in these podcasts and any other words of wisdom that are shared there, here and there in live streams. But I want people to start relying more on the collaboration of the community, because that's really what's going to set us apart, and that's where our biggest strength is. That's where our numbers are. So with that out of the way, let's get into today's decode. Tonight at sundown is officially the end of Rosh Hashanah. We will be essentially leaving this Hebrew year of 5,783 and transitioning into the new Hebrew year of 5,784. It's technically already been in the process in this 3-day window, moving from Elul into Tishri. And we just want to quickly recap the significance of the Hebrew year that we're in right now, which is 5,784. This adds up to 24. Now, this is important because today, the 17th, you can see that we have 24 standard date numerology. So that's perfectly synchronized. So tomorrow, naturally, we have September 18th in the Gregorian calendar is where this would all align as the official first day of the new year. And therefore, we'll be in a new energy because we will be completely out of the Jubilee. We made it, family. The end of the Jubilee. Let me quickly go over here real quick and just explain this. I know there are newer people in the community, and we just want to get a quick definition out here and quickly read through this. So the Jubilee year, every 50th year, and the sabbatical year, which is called the Shemitah, are biblical commandments concerning ownership of land and slaves. So again, just a quick recap, we have our sabbatical year, which is on every 7th year. The last one we had was from 2021 into September 2022. Then from September 2022 into right now, September 2023 is what I'm calling the Jubilee year. And the last time we had that was 50 years ago. 7 cycles of 7 Shemitah is 49 years, and you practice the Jubilee on the 50th year. This is biblical Jubilee, by the way. So you see what this ties back to. It ties back to ownership of land and slaves. The law concerning the sabbatical year are still observed by many religious Jews in the state of Israel, while the Jubilee has not been observed for many centuries. This is what they say, but we all know they're operating this system in finances and things that come back to anything tied to the economy. They just don't want to tell you that. And they say, according to the Hebrew Bible, every 7th year, farmers in the land of Israel are commanded to let their land lie fallow, and slaves were freed. So this has to do with the Shemitah, specifically without this part at the end. Now, they would be doing this during Jubilee. The celebration of the Jubilee is the 50th year, that is, the year after 7 sabbatical cycles, as I mentioned a little bit earlier. Now, in the Roman Catholic tradition, a Jubilee is a year of remission of sins and also the punishment due to sin. It's very interesting. Now, here they go through it based on the system that we might have heard through the monarchy of the British Empire. So we just had Queen Elizabeth was in her Platinum Jubilee, or 70 years as queen, which she interestingly died that year. That's really coincidental. Anywho, this code of 70, again, we talked about 7-year cycle. Well, this will be 10 cycles of 70, and that brings you back to the completion of completions. It's really the ultimate completion would be the Platinum Jubilee, because when you go through 10 cycles of 7, you have that 10 is representative of the ones and zeros, the key and the lock. That is your binary code, and that is the end. Now, remember, when a mother is pregnant, she is not pregnant for 9 months. She is pregnant for 10 moons. It is moon, okay? This is, again, it's just making people completely unaware of how nature works, taking you away from the natural and confusing you with these systems. So here we're decoding it all. We're making it have clarity. Anywho, I think this information is pretty fascinating, and it could lead to, a lot of exploration for your decodes. But needless to say, we are out of this cycle effectively. There's your definition. Let's move on. So since we mentioned the number 24 moments ago, with the Hebrew year being 5,784 right now, that adding up to 24, well, if we go to 24 days before October 14th, which is the next solar eclipse that we have, we're going to type that in, and you're going to see the code here. So I wanted to connect this actually to the next FOMC meeting. This is today's decode where we're going to really break it down, go down the rabbit hole. So 24 days before this October solar eclipse that's kicking in is September 20th, the day that Jerome Powell will be speaking at the next FOMC meeting. Definitely an important connection here. Now, remember, Satoshi is adding up to 24 in Chaldean. Satoshi is Saturn. Again, Bitcoin is not Saturn. Bitcoin is the thought process. It is the thought of Saturn, of Satoshi. We'll go deeper into this eventually with my decoding mastermind, but with this being said, this Satoshi connected to the 24, this is going to tell us a lot of the story about what next year will be like, this new Hebrew year we've moved into from now until next September. It has this 24 energy in it. And what's also fascinating is we'll be moving into the year of 2024. Again, when we write this year down in short form, we typically write it as 24. We have the Hebrew year legitimately adding up to this number as well, which would just be utilizing the art of numerology. Now, this date of September 20th, it has a 18 standard date numerology, and that is very important because in Judaism, this is one of the most powerful and important numbers. And we're going to just look at the numerology here of the number of this symbol which essentially symbolizes life or living. And here in the numerology, you could see there have been various mystical numerological speculations about the fact that, according to the system of gematria, the letters of Chai add up to 18. For this reason, 18 is a spiritual number in Judaism, and many Jews give gifts of money, charity, and donations to synagogues in multiples of 18. All right. Now, this is really interesting stuff. We talked about it a lot on this channel, but I think, we want to keep going back to the basics right now. I think it's important. The thing that makes people at the intermediate level sometimes slip up from being able to go to the more advanced decoding level is because they forget their basics. They forget their foundation. So it's important we keep going over this as much as possible as a reminder. And it's helpful to me too. It's a big part of my own practice with any art that I create. So why is that 18 so interesting? Well, 1 plus 8 equals 9, and we know 9 is a completion number. It is effectively the last number, and then everything restarts again, back at 1. 9 is the number of the ego. So this 1-8 and its symbolism tied back to this word, this idea of life force, prana. It's really, really incredible. So Again, another gem, something to be reminded of. And if you're somebody who's well aware of this, I think that start practicing some of these meanings, some of this code, and look at it whilst you're decoding, and always remind yourself when you see this number 18, it's coming back to this. Now, that's making me think, because this will be the first 18 standard date numerology in the Gregorian system since the end of Rosh Hashanah. Now, this is significant. It's adding significance to the next time Fed Chair Powell will be speaking at the next FOMC. Again, we've been prepared for a while now to expect volatility during this upcoming week, being the end of the Jubilee and the 38th week of the year. We talked about this a couple weeks ago, but this September 18th is the end of Jubilee, effectively. We are one full day out of it, therefore we're out of that energy. That's starting on the 38th week. Well, we have 3 8s, 3 times 8, 24. We're right back at our main code we've been talking about. But to specifically talk about the number 38, we have gold equals 38. This is the alchemical process from moving from lead to gold, happening on the world stage with all of these weather rituals that are happening lately, specifically water rituals, flooding. And it's very interesting how much this talk of Hurricane Lee, we've been hearing about this a little bit, at least in the USA. Hurricane Lee adds up to 43, just like Rosh Hashanah equals 43 in the same cipher. And this hurricane was moving towards the East Coast right at these exact dates of the Hebrew New Year. There was a lot of stuff going around talking about this being one of the potential worst storms to ever hit the East Coast, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, which is great. I'm happy about that. The world doesn't need any more of this shit going on. Like, it's really tragic to hear how many people in our world have been affected lately by these floods. Like, we're sending all of our good and positive and healing energy towards those people. It's really sad, but this is just the way things go right now. Sadly, I'm sure they will continue to hit us with stuff like this during this time because of everything else we've been talking about with this year being especially during this specific time frame between Rosh Hashanah, which is right now, until the next solar eclipse, which will be October 14th. Now, this is what today's decode is focusing on, between the October 14th solar eclipse and this upcoming week. So please pay attention to that because that's the overarching theme. Now, why is this October 14th eclipse so important? Well, it's because it is the first of what will be called the Great American Eclipse. It's a pair of eclipses between October 14th, 2023 and April 8th of 2024. That Great American Eclipse makes an X over the state of Texas, over the United States of America. Remember 24? Well, X is your 24th letter in the alphabet. This is incredibly important, family. Please take this seriously. Take notes on these things because it gets you into where I'm at with my decoding process. So we've been talking about this eclipse and this phenomenon for a while now here, but since we're getting very close, I'll actually be dedicating my next decode to the Great American Eclipse, and I plan to release that at the beginning of next month, so you can look forward to that. It's going to expose my outlook on the end of this year into the start of next year, which I get so many questions about, so I'll be answering all those frequently asked questions in that decode presentation I'll be releasing in a couple weeks. So going back to this date of September 20th as the key date of today's decode, another gem that I found that ties Satoshi into all of this, like we shared earlier, we have Satoshi equals that 24. Oh, also, a lot of people are confused about this ISO 222 stuff and saying that Bitcoin isn't a part of it. Like, sorry to burst people's bubbles, but it is. XBT is the alternative ticker symbol to Bitcoin. It has the X in it, X24. Don't get confused here. You know, Bitcoin will never go away. It is this system. I know that hurts a lot of people's feelings because a lot of people want Bitcoin to fail, but some words of wisdom here, and it's not sexy for me to say these things, is if you're somebody who wants something to fail, that kind of shows where you're at with your projections and your fears. Don't ever have this feeling that you want other things to fail. Just let it be as it is, and it will reap what it sows. You focus on yourself and your own energy and what you have control over. Focus on serving your purpose, not hoping and wishing that something else that's serving its purpose fails. That type of way of projecting out will come back to you in a very negative way, because that is one of the most horrifying forms of lack that any human being could ever have. You never need to worry about somebody else's rise and fall. Just worry about yours, right? It's important. But I want to just dispel any of this energy from our community, because that's never going to help us grow. Anywho, getting back on track here, we were talking about this code of Satoshi tied into this. Saturn. Again, nothing ends in the realms of Saturn, because Saturn is Father Time. So we are existing here in this matrix, in this third dimension, whatever you want to call it. We are here. We are dealing with time. As we're born until we so-called die, we're dealing with decay. All right? So that is why Saturn is considered the Lord of Lords. Yes, for a moment he was overthrown by his son Jupiter, but that only lasts during the age of Pisces. Then Saturn comes back around, like the great Maynard from the band Tool says, and that is the Aquarian age. We are moving into the Aquarian age. That will be ruled by Saturn, Uranus. That is Saturnian. All right? It's important that we take all of this stuff into consideration. All right? We're all aware of the mythology here, but we also need to be aware of our age. That's why the mythology is always like a playbook of the elite. So, talked about this number 24 with Satoshi. We talked about it with the Hebrew year 5784 adds up to 24. Well, if you take Satoshi's alleged last birthday, which is April 5th of 2023, you're going to see that that is exactly 24 weeks apart. You can't make this stuff up. Now, the mirror of 24 is 42. Now, always remember this. When we decode, we mirror the numbers, words, or symbols. Meaning, we were talking earlier about 18. Well, 18 mirrored is 81. That code is really popular in my work, tied back to Venus. Venus, the son of the morning. Lucifer, the light bringer. This is why they tell you that this is tied to love. All right, there's an exoteric and an esoteric. Don't ever fall for the exoteric, but utilize the exoteric as part of your decoding process. Everything that's popular is wrong, right? They tell you Aphrodite stands for love. You think it stands for evil. I'm just helping you out here. That's it. So, again, it's sweaty sometimes in the sauna. It gets hot, it gets spicy, but the truth sets you free, even though it sucks sometimes. This code of 24, we flip it, we bring it back to 42. We see that again in Satoshi Nakamoto equals 181. That is your 42nd prime number. Then we have it equals 89. That is your 24th prime number. As above, so below. Saturn, 42. This is the Satoshi of the blockchain realm, the Saturn of the blockchain realm. So now, to go even deeper with all of this, we have Saturnalia, the Saturnalia festival. And if we were to tie September 20th to the 18th of December, remember before, excuse me, we were talking about the number 18, Chi, and this tied to the 18 over here. Well, we were just talking before about 24, 42. Well, September 20th is tied to the first full official day of Saturnalia by 89 days, 89 again, 24th prime number. You're seeing this code over and over and over again. 24 is a very powerful number in this physical realm, in this simulation, in this simulacrum. We have 24 hours in a day, right? We hear that quite often. Hours is Horus, right? One moment. We're getting into a couple of things here that just help you see the code. We have December is this month. It equals 55. We have Satoshi Nakamoto equals 55. We see this month of December being the key month in a majority of all-time highs, of all of the all-time highs and all of the all-time lows for Bitcoin. It's all tied into this code. This 55 becomes 2 5s, that's 25. That comes back to crypto equals 25. Crypto also equals 97. That's your 25th prime number. You can't escape it. Remember, we're in the year of the rabbit. That has your 5225 mirrored as above, so below. 52 is in cryptocurrency. You have that right there. Also, cryptocurrency has that 204. You remove the 0, you have 24. That's the Hebrew year we're in right now. That's the year next year. 2024, and my intuitive, deep belief, will be the next Bitcoin bull run, which will be the next cryptocurrency bull run, leading into Saturnalia. Pretty much Q4, we should be right on the money. It will start earlier, of course, because we need to make progress going from where we are right now in the, 26K region all the way up to 70,000 again, and then price discovery. But that's our process. All right. So getting back to Saturn and Saturnalia, we definitely need to pay attention to Saturday of December 23rd. This is just something to put on your calendars in the future, because Saturday, December 23rd is the last day of Saturnalia, and it lands on a Saturn's day. All of this stuff tied to Jubilee, Shemitah, Judaism, economy, all of that will always come back to Saturn, being the father of all the things that come after it, which will then be tied to finances. And of course, this is all tied to what we exoterically call Christmas, December 25th. We were just talking about that 25th code a little bit. Well, if we take from December 25th to this key date, we've been decoding this entire video. That's 96 days. And that brings us full circle, because this 96 and 69 code has been with us this entire year. And for the last couple of years, actually, the 69th day of this year is when Silicon Valley Bank and a couple other banks collapsed. That was March 10th. The Queen died at 96 years old during her Platinum Jubilee, the year of the United States Pluto's return, and also the Shemitah year, which was the year that led us into this Jubilee. And Bitcoin, of course, hit 69,000 as its all-time high during that time. Like Saturn equals 69. Bitcoin created by Satoshi. So all eyes are on this upcoming Wednesday. Wednesday, miércoles, it's the day of Mercury. The Mercury, again, tied to finance, merchandise, commerce, money printed out of thin air. That is the Federal Reserve System. That is what this debt clock is all about. It's just fairy dust at this point. It's not backed by anything but the belief of the people. So everything comes back, I think, to this specific date. I think it is very, very important. And here you guys have all the esoteric code that ties it all together. And for the masses that pay attention to financial mainstream media, they know it's the next Federal Reserve FOMC meeting, but you guys have the truth of this code that really runs this show. So let's let this week play out. We have been talking about this time frame for so long that we should be more than prepared to respond to whatever this market gives us. It's all an opportunity here at the end of the day for the wolf pack. And now is the perfect time for us to pivot over to the charts and quickly check in on the major indices to see what the stock market is looking like. This will give us a broad overview of the market and help us see the setup for this upcoming week and how this could affect crypto. Pulling up the Dow Jones, I'm going to turn off all this noise and we're just going to look at everything based on the candles and take it from there. So over the last week, we did pretty much neutralize any of the gains we made. These sort of weeks are showing us that we don't have the strength that we did have in this move up into July. That was expected. We pretty much got this entire movement from bottom to this automatic rally to where it started to pivot with 100% precision week to week. I mean, pretty insane how the only thing that I can say is that the amount we moved up was more than I thought. We had an even more bullish relief rally or automatic rally than I anticipated. So it shows you how much money is being printed and injected into this market at this time. It makes absolutely no sense. Well, I have a couple trend lines here to show, but we want to see how after we topped out slightly below the 888 fib on the Dow Jones, we headed quickly below the 786, which brings us back into the golden pocket. And since we've had a couple of weeks, about 3 back tests on this 702 fib, that shows a little strength, and that shows that we're looking like we want to have a micro bull trap. Something where we move up a little bit and then get rejected. And then once we start closing a new weekly low, which would be below the 702 fib, that's where we anticipate movement down. Probably straight to the 0.5 fib 382. You don't even know how deep this can go. It could be a double bottom in under 2 months. So that's kind of where we're at now. We're at this moment where this was a sign of weakness, this rejection that we got. I'll look at the daily and show you what I mean. We have these like reverse twin towers candles, of course, at this exact time. We are going to turn this onto a area chart so you can see what I was doing. I'm going to delete this trend line and look at this trend line that we have here. Perfect rejections on the daily closes over and over and over again until we broke through. Sharp move up, what looks like it could be flipping into an M pattern. This is a pretty good looking M, especially with the higher high, because you want to think about it from the market maker's perspective. They want to shake you out by thinking that, oh, we're closing on a new high. That's great. And then look, the following day sends you down. The same amount you gained is the same amount you fell. It's a textbook move of the market maker. This is why 95% of traders don't make money, especially day traders or people who are scalping, people that are playing really quick in and out in the market. They aren't anticipating any of this stuff because, well, typically they're playing on emotion. That's why my advanced trading course, I think, is extremely helpful for a lot of people who are looking to become more active in the market. It goes through everything you need to know, gives you high quality Wyckoff schematics so that you could have a visual of how the patterning and the structure of the market or the chart looks. And this will help you be able to determine what's more likely to come next. It's a really effective and helpful. I like to call the Wyckoff method the market compass. This way you could pull up any chart and you could quickly figure out where you are. Most people who pull up a chart, they're lost and they rely on somebody else to tell them where they are. But here, waters above, we are all about self-reliance, about teaching skills so that you can be empowered and do this on your own. That's the difference. Getting back to this first trend line we have here, it's pretty nice that we did break out of it, but it's typical to come back to it, back test it. We'll have to see how that goes. But then on this other trend line, we have a weekly chart. We're showing that we've been, let me see exactly where this was built off of. It might be kind of an unnecessary trend line. Let me look at candles. That's probably where it is. Yeah, that's what it looks like. You could see from the current yearly high, I have this secondary trend line, a couple rejections over here, a couple rejections over here, and then we got back into it. So I'm going to leave this up for now. It'll be invalidated for me once we start closing below this key trend line right here. This one has been holding as a beautiful support since March, pretty much when we had the Silicon Valley Bank crash. We're perfectly bouncing on it, even recently. So I think this is the one that we need to look to. And if we could combine a weekly close below this trend line, synchronized with below the 702 fib, that to me is an indicator that all things will start moving down at that time. So that gives you something to work with there regarding the setup. Now, if we were to just pop up out of nowhere, we're still making lower highs in the macro. And unless we start to have a daily close above 35,500, yeah, we're not really making any breakthroughs. We're just ranging. So that kind of gives you an idea there. Anything below the 888 is still just a sign of weakness and no price discovery anticipated until we were to start breaking above that. So pretty harsh rejection right here that we got. Holding a little bit, still holding a higher low structure for the yearly, but we're getting really close to turning the show around. And I think that FOMC meeting will be the exoteric trigger for all of this. Getting into the S&P really quickly, it's the same story. You'd want to be looking at the 702 fib. Any closures below the 702, we'd quickly move to the 618. That would be the play. Go to the NASDAQ. All right, so the NASDAQ does have a clear, let me look at this on a area chart. Yeah. So the NASDAQ has a pretty clear rejection line as well, lower highs, but we would need to start closing dailies below this level right here, which we can just call, again, the 702. This is all more alike than it is different. Anything closing below this level right here would show a sign of weakness and a reversal point, and pretty much thin air between the 702 and all the way down here at the point, pretty much this red line that I drew. So we can dramatically move from here all the way to below the golden pocket fast. Look at how quick we moved up. Sorry, we don't need those emojis. We moved from there to there in 20 days. We can literally do the same thing. If we were to start this as of the 20th, in 20 days, we could be right back down the week leading into the October solar eclipse. We could be right there and breaking straight down to the 0.5 quick. The 0.5 seems to be the key support level here. And then once that's broken, it's going to slide fast. So there's your analysis on the indices. Again, until we start seeing daily closes above the 888 fib, I'm not entertaining high or going up. I'm really in the camp of entertaining more down right now than up. And I've been saying that week after week after week. Now we're pretty much there. Let's look at the DXY, see the story here. Wow, DXY super. Okay, let me turn on some of this stuff and turn on the candles. We could see right there, that was your peak high to consider March 6th. That was leading into that Silicon Valley Bank failure. We have this little pivot here, backup phase, sharp move up, and then returning right back to it. So this 105 level that we're trading at right now is crucial. We break above the 105.8. That would be in alignment with the market correction we've just been talking about. And this thing could send it all the way to 109. So look at some of the things well, there you go. That's perfect. So you look at what I did on this DXY. I have pulled a fib from this level right here, swing high to swing low, and our 1618, our golden ratio, is perfectly at 109, almost at 110. So that would be the dramatic move I would anticipate moving up to, and that could all be completed by October. Just keep that in mind. Now, look at the way we fell from 109 back here to this level. It took about 20 days to get from 109 all the way sliding down to the 105 level, which we're effectively trading at right now. So it tells you, if we were to go from the 18th over 20 days, we could accomplish hitting the 1618 by October 10th, October 11th. Pretty much, let's look at the week that lands in. That'll help us. Okay, so the 41st week of the year. I think we actually talked about this in either one of my YouTube videos or one of my, maybe last week in the Red Pill. It's all blending together. I've been working on a lot of things simultaneously, but write down the 41st week of the year. That could be the week that we move into completing this whole thing from 105 to 109, and that would be synchronized with the stock market, any of these indices breaking below the 702 fib and then moving to the 0.5 or lower. Okay, so you can take note of that. I think that's a very thorough analysis on what is happening in the stock market. Now, of course, if that was to occur, that would be noticeable in Bitcoin and crypto. That would bring us a little bit of negative energy. And for Bitcoin, if you considered what I just said about the 702 fib in the indices, that would be Bitcoin at 25K. If Bitcoin starts breaking below 25K on 5-day candles, weekly candles, there's going to be a sharp move down. 236 is the first. I teach this to everyone in my courses. I always tell you, from your selling climax to your buying climax, you have an automatic rally above the 382, and it could go as high as the 786. Then when you correct off your automatic rally, it's very natural to go to the 236, especially if you didn't have a really exuberant automatic rally, which is the case for Bitcoin here. We didn't even make it above the 0.5 fib. But that's kind of to be expected with an asset like this that has been trading now for over a decade. Its market cap is getting pretty high. It's getting more mature. There's less unsophisticated money in this asset as much comparatively to the amount of smart money that's in this asset. And with a Bitcoin ETF around the corner, I think what I just said proves itself. So, and that'll be even more noticeable when that ETF comes to fruition. Wait one moment. All right, so I know this is a pretty noisy chart, but we had this main support line. It was in play for the entire 2023 year. We broke it right there on August 16th. We had these like stair-step patterns. Since we broke through this, we've actually come up to this prior support and have been rejected on it. And that happened just pretty much into our monthly close of August. We're now gravitating back to that level, so it would see how we interact with that. But yeah, no parties here. Bitcoin more likely down than up. And I've said this many times to anyone who's newer here, I would love to get a sub 20K Bitcoin. That for me would be a gift. If Bitcoin moves down below 20K, pay attention to this. If Bitcoin moves below 20K into the 16, 15K area, that will demolish altcoins. Whatever coin you like, whatever coin you think is the next, category winner, it will get slammed. All right. We need to consider this. So I'll give a quick example. All right. I'm going to get to this in a moment, but you see this move down here for Solana when it was $8, and you see how now it's already trading at the 236, whilst Bitcoin is pretty much at the 382. Well, when we get this move that comes for Bitcoin, if we were to get a move at, let's just say, $15,000 Bitcoin, 8 Solana will probably be broken. So it won't be like the same effect as this moment here. It will be different. I just want to let people know that. All right. And we'll get to the Solana analysis in a moment. But again, I'm just telling you that anything below 20K Bitcoin for me is a gift. It's an area to definitely consider accumulation. That would be the key level that we moved back to in the Silicon Valley Bank crash. And we know it was a key level because look at the way we sprung off of it. Just popped real fast. Now we have this solar eclipse that we turned around on. We did effectively make a new high after the solar eclipse, which was something that I called. I said to anticipate that because I feel like we were more in this cycle compared to this cycle. The 2014 through 2016 cycle is what I believe we're more in now. It's a little bit more of that essence, if you will. So you can see right here, we moved into the solar cycle. We went up after it. And then here we moved into a solar cycle. We actually started a downtrend and had this even bigger correction of the C19 crash. I don't know if we'll be having something like this happen again for some time, but I'm open-minded to it for sure, especially in 2025. I'm open to something like this. But I have referenced the C19 crash several times in regards to timing, how quickly we can move down and then be right back in it. And if we were to get a crash like that, again, it would just be a gift to me. I would love to be able to accumulate 15K, even if it went lower, Bitcoin. But it will demolish altcoins. It will absolutely be a bloodbath. And theoretically, I assume it could be tied to something. I don't want to call it stablecoins. I don't want to call it Binance also because so many people now believe Binance is going to fail that remember the way I operate and the way I think the wolf operates is everything that's popular is wrong. So if too many people are starting to go in that direction, I go the other direction. And so many people think Binance is about to go down and fail. And for me, I just don't feel that's the case anymore because of how much talk of the town that has become. So I'm open to the theories here of what could cause this, but I think it would be a totally different form of regulation, just something that would come down on the fintech companies specifically, in general, kind of like what happened with Celsius or something like that, just liquidity problems. And that could be triggered by liquidity problems at banks. So don't be surprised if in the next couple weeks we have liquidity issues with banks, which then leads to liquidity issues with exchanges. Now that won't be isolated just to Binance, right? That would be all of them would have trouble in this. That's just the game we're in. So anywho, tangible numbers, I'd really be looking for a swipe quickly to the 236 and then accumulation around this 20K area, and anything lower than that, we're looking at a support level potentially at this bar right here. I'm going to duplicate this so you can see what I'm talking about. Be right there. That's your prior horizontal trading range. We broke below, got rejected, and then after that rejection it held. So that's a zone of accumulation that we could fill out. Now let me go to the CME chart because I believe that aligns with a lower CME gap. It sure does. So there you go. You have that lower CME gap that has yet to be filled. That would be probably a tangible area to get through. We filled this, so we could delete that, and we never filled this upper gap. So it's looking like we will be filling this gap before filling that one. And that, again, that's an opportunity, because if we were to swipe below there and get in at like the 19, right there, that's almost 100% gains just on Bitcoin to get back to filling that upper gap. I mean, most people are making what, 9 to 15% in the stock market just off of playing that gap move. You're talking about 8 times more than that. Not a time to get greedy. I'm not telling you what to invest in, by the way. I'm just saying this is my mind. This is the method to my madness. All right, so let me look at a couple things that are going on in Bitcoin regarding moving averages, weekly close that's coming up, and just see what we could talk about there, and then we'll move quickly through ETH, XRP, and everything else. I turn off drawings. Look at some of the moving averages. Okay, so we've been rejected below the 8. We're not back above it. We're getting a little bit of a bounce on this bi-weekly, but the bi-weekly closes next week, which is leading into Yom Kippur, which we'll talk about more in depth next week. We'll be making the next Red Pill podcast right before Yom Kippur, the Day of Atonement. Now we have our weekly close. Okay, this is something to consider. We have our weekly close holding on the 200 exponential moving average, so keep that in mind. I really don't like this 8 moving down at this rate and how long we've been below the 8, but it isn't much different than this iteration over here. So I'm going to keep saying it. I think this 55 simple is going to be tested soon. That's around 24k Bitcoin, which right, like we have the 24 year we're in, Hebrew year, moving into the 2024 year. We have all this 24 code, Satoshi equals 24. Seeing that 24k Bitcoin soon would not be shocking by the numbers. Let me see. But yeah, that 19k area does look like it could be filled out for sure. And 19 is 1 is A, 9 is I, artificial intelligence. We know that's what the story is moving into 2024. It will just get stronger. Okay, we have this cross of the 55 below the 200. That's not good. That's weakness. I think I talked about that recently as well. We're getting rejected at the 34 EMA2. It's not good. Sloping to the downside as well. 55 sloping to the downside. 200 exponential sloping to the downside. Bearish. We're right there at 50, which is neutral, right? We want to be above 50, above our last level, 54 for bullish control, and that's not the case. So we're more likely down. Let's look at the 12-hour. Yeah, this is choppy. This is holding this range. Let's go over to that firmament chart. If we could pull that up, I think that'd be cool. Okay, so we've left Mercury retrograde, a little bit of a pop. I talked about this in the last YouTube video, how we had this iteration here of September 2022 and how it's an almost identical iteration of what we have here. And it's in the same time frame as September. It's the same. And look at what happened. We moved into eclipse season and a really noticeable correction. We're moving into eclipse season soon. And I told you, we're more likely holding and any of this, or what I meant to finish off saying is we're probably going to hold these lows based on past iterations we've seen in the all-time chart of Bitcoin. So whatever negativity we have in this market, it needs to be completed sooner than later, given all the data we have. We see here on Bitcoin seasonality, average monthly performance, we're neutral in August, down September. We're in September now, we're down, or actually we might not be down just yet. Yeah, we're technically up right now. Okay, cool. Yeah, so that tells me, again, neutralization, more likely down. And we went through this a couple podcasts ago as well, and then big October. So even if we were to have a correction early October, that could be bought back up easily. And then November, December, the end of Q4, looking good. So it's a short time frame. I don't want to spend too much time on this, though. Again, we've talked about these ideas many times. Let's move over to ETH. All right, so weakness here because we've continued our micro downtrend, high, lower high, technically lower highs. We have our low, technically, and closing below the 382. We're more likely heading into this 1500 soon, and then thin air between 1500 to the 236. That would be anything below the 236 is accumulation, and this gives you your zone right here, 1100 to 1300. Can we see a sub $1,000 ETH? sure. But it would require Bitcoin to get into, again, that like 15,000 territory that we talked about. Even though ETH solidified its lows back in June and Bitcoin did in November, this shows you that there's different energy at play here, because Bitcoin is the sun in this idea. Like, it's the solar energy. It has more of that. And I'm not calling it literally the sun, but just play with me here on the idea. Whilst Ethereum is the ether. It's the brighter light, the upper air that the gods breathe, but it's this brighter light. So it plays a different role in the primordial creation story, if you will. We'll get to that again in the future. It's unnecessary comparatively to what we've been talking about. Usually it would just be to entertain some of these ideas and then to apply these ideas to other things that you're interested in. But Ethereum, it's in the name. Bitcoin, it's in the symbolism. But we can see a return back to 1,000 ETH if we're going to see Bitcoin get back into that 16,000 range. And the reason why is here we were in a lunar cycle, and as of here we moved into a solar cycle. So now Bitcoin has the energy, and that's kind of my theory around that. Let's go to XRP. Okay, yeah, so this big trend line here is on an area chart, and it's probably a weekly. Yes, she is. Okay, so look at what's going on here. We had this blue resistance that we broke through, and we can see clean 3 touch points, and right here when we broke through it, we got right back below it, which is called a kickback. And then if we look on the weekly support that we had, we held 1, 2, we actually got back to it around here, but then we broke below it. So this yellow line has been invalidated. This has not been holding as a new support, which was prior resistance. So that's a sign of weakness. Consider that. Anything below 47 cents XRP, we're more likely moving to 41 cents fast. So that would be your horizontal level to keep in mind here. Let me look up with some fibs if possible. Oh, it's because we're on a different chart. 1 second, family. Yeah, what a horrible move that was. Anyone who took advantage of it, though, great. All right, so we haven't really been playing around with the 236 too much, but this was the completion of your automatic rally. You had to move up above the 382, which I said earlier. You can go as high as the 786 typically, but getting above the 0.5 to 618 is normal. That's what stocks tend to do, by the way. Now, we got right back to the 236 technically on this test, and this was within kissing it. So we've completed our automatic rally. That's it. It's done. Now, the next move for Bitcoin, for XRP, is either getting back into holding higher low structure, which we are hoping for, or it would be a double bottom. Now, entertaining that double bottom idea is weird right now with XRP just because of how long it's been suppressed and how long it's been on this like trajectory. But that's why I love this trend line that I put in right here. Let me turn on area. Maybe not as helpful, but you get where this trend line is showing you. Here was the C19 crash. We got right back above it. We tested it one last time before we headed up to the Flare token distribution. Then boom, right here in the SEC versus Ripple case, we back tested it. Then a new yearly high, and we gravitated right back to this blue trend line over and over again until March 2023 after the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. Now, I do believe we're probably going to touch it again. And that's why 40 cents, 41 cents is perfect to me. And remember, we were just talking about the 41st week of the year. So imagine XRP at 41 cents on the 41st week of the year. That'd be beautiful. And that's where I'm going to personally be accumulating again. Be putting in some buy orders there. Okay, so let's move on now to Solana. This chart is really not making me so confident in a once very popular and important project and altcoin. Could see an incredible bull run, but then followed by a very dramatic 97% sell-off. Getting above the 236, we've been holding it thus far, but we're pretty much towing the line right now. This was your... it is an automatic rally, I guess, but it's very weak. It's very weak. That means the 382 is going to play a huge role in the future of Solana. So just write that down. If you're interested in Solana, if it could break above $30 in the future, that's where you would have your next explosive move. But thus far, we held it back here. You can see we played around with it a lot back here before the selling climax or end of the alt season. Then we returned right back to it, held it, big breakdown into what's called the selling climax. So this should be your lows unless Bitcoin breaks down to like what I said earlier, 16K or 15K. But now we're holding this 236. It's a very strong level. Let's hope that holds. Let's hope the higher low structure holds. If not, the opportunities are below 12. I would not even consider touching this thing at where it's at now, because the difference between 13 and 5 can happen in a week. Yeah, you heard me. Be cautious there. Let me show you. That's my pull that I would do, because I really think that this is your key support level here at this 236. It's been showing itself time and time again, and that 1618 goes all the way down to 350, and that does not shock me. That would be Solana's end of the world situation, somewhere at 350. I don't really have too much to say positive about this. It did well in this year. It is called Solana, Sun. But I think that these bull runs are done for these altcoin projects. I don't think we're going to have this type of stuff happening anymore where we see, a 40,000% gain. That's behind us. And if it had one of these in the past, it shouldn't have as dramatic of that in the next cycle. It's more than likely just going to be in like a 2021 XRP scenario where it comes up into like the 888 or maybe a double top. That's what I see happening for things like Solana in the future, where the next bull run, I don't know if it'll enter price discovery unless, it gets accumulated by the big players. That's clearly not the case in this chart, because you can see how quick it rose and how much it's fell. This is not being held by big, sophisticated, smart money. It's just being traded by retail. So words here is 5 to 350 is the DEFCON 4 scenario. Anything below the selling climax, that would be your spring. And that's like what we saw with Hex, right? We saw Hex's selling climax, and then it went into a very, very deep, arduous spring, and now look at where it's at. It's all the way down here in Hades, and it could go even lower. But I covered that like 2 weeks ago. So if you want any P-Hex or E-Hex analysis, just go watch the Red Pill podcast I did like 2 or 3 weeks ago. It covers that in depth. Now we're moving on to Energy Web Token. Really interesting how Energy Web Token and Matic have identical symbolism, like the color purple they use and the white logo. It's really interesting. So purple is your crown chakra, but it's like your Jubilee colors, all right? The platinum Jubilee colors were this exact same purple and white. I'm just letting you know, like, kind of where my mind's at with this. And Matic is clearly Saturnian with the 2 hexagons joining in, forming the 8 or the analemma. All right, so we're on Energy Web Token right now. We're going to go into Polygon in a moment. This chart looks really, really rough. All right, we don't have any trading during like the C19 crisis coming in before that, so that already makes me feel weary. Let's look at a fib. All right, we already had something going on here. Okay, so we're looking at Energy Web Token right now. We can see this $5 level was crucial. It was below the 382. So this thing never even went into an automatic rally. And right now it's right back down at the lows. So we're looking at a double bottom scenario as we speak. And this thing is heading to a spring very soon. So let me show you the level to consider. This is going to be bad. Yeah, this is going to be bad. This is going to be like a 50 cents again. Potentially. Yeah. I'll be kind. I'll do the 888. And the reason is we have all these rejections here. You can see we have at least like 20 or 30 days worth of rejections. So I'm going to be more fair. I'm going to go right from the 215 level to the 888. Yeah, this thing's heading to 50 cents probably. Yeah. All right. Anything it breaks here, it'll be trapped in this horizontal range between 2 and 150, and then anything below 150, it's going to slam down into 50. It's a big drop. Yeah, no bueno. So Energy Web Token more likely heading into its end of the world apocalypse levels of 50 cents. And then it's just some price discovery to the downside if it can't hold that, and very little data coming in before that. And that doesn't help, right? It doesn't have like 2 cycles or 3 cycles or multiple cycles to analyze. It's a very new project. It was launched at the right place at the right time, and even then it didn't really have that nice of a bull run, like a weird head and shoulders here, which now is turning into like just holding these lows in the structure whilst Bitcoin is trading up to 3382. So it's not even really following the strength of the Bitcoin play. It's more holding its it's at the same level it was in June 2022 when like ETH was trading at $800. Now ETH is almost double that, and this thing is still here. You see? Yeah, that's why when I build my investment thesis, it's 50 to 60% Bitcoin, 25% ETH, and then I've lately had it at like 25-30% XRP, which is making my portfolio like a little bit more, I would call it unbalanced, but it's the setup for the 2024 year. Like I have my reason for why I'm doing that. So technically I am holding XRP as my second biggest position. But I feel way more confident with that sort of. And the difference, though, is I need to trade XRP. With ETH, I can just hold it. But with XRP, I need to trade it in order for it to be a sensible thing to have in that second place. But again, I'm not telling people to do that. I've already been very vocal about the levels that I took my profits at, why I did it, the whole thesis behind it. We executed that play. It went very well. It's just a trader's token to me. It served me very well in that trader's token position. But that's the reason, I'm just being transparent here. I would not want to hodl a coin like this, though. This is dog shit. Be very careful with having anything over 3% of charts that look like this. Just, again, it's probably heading to 50 cents. Let's look at Polygon now. Okay, so the Polygon chart looking very similar to the Solana right now, where we can see, well, actually it is different regarding how this automatic rally went. So we had buying climax to selling climax to automatic rally clean at the 702. Christmas tree rejection, another rejection on this 382 area, lower high. Now we've started to break the lows that were coming in back here of June, and we're starting to treat the 236 like resistance. So Matic is now heading down to probably 30 cents or lower. Now I have all these lines here. They're essentially just grouped up between 20 to 30 cents. If we can't hold that, lights out. Look at this. Between 20 cents and fucking 2 cents. That's bad. This is not good. That's an additional 90% drop, because this is your horizontal trading range you have back here. It's between this level and this level. Yeah, 1 to 2 cents, 1 to 3 cents almost. So we don't have any horizontal trading level between 24 cents and all the way down here at this drop back to almost 3 cents. That's why it's rough. This needs to hold. Otherwise, it drops completely out of its trading range. And this is a common theme, everyone. Like, I know it's scary, but it just is what it is. So it makes me not so confident building a position here, because it could slide from here all the way to there just as quick as it went up from there to there. You see, like this whole move off the last touch to this next point was 38 days. That's all it took for it to move into this whole new trading range. It could fall faster because it's easier to sell when people are scared than it is for them to be greedy and FOMO in. To be convinced to FOMO in. It's much more normal for people to act on their own without the influence to sell just because they're watching their portfolio go down. And this is clearly an asset held by retail. I mean, just look at the chart. So yeah, I'm not confident in this Matic play. Scary stuff. And the next bull run, this might still be around. I'm not sure, because I know there's a lot being built on this. NFTs are big on this. Okay, we're looking at VeChain now. Okay, so VeChain in a sim, actually just holding its lows here, a little bit of bounce. Every time we're looking at V though, excuse me. All right, we have definitely completed off the selling climax energy. We keep kind of struggling around this 1 penny, and this is absolutely one of those plays that had a nice bull run back in the day. And if it's going to go down one more level, it's probably 1 penny. It's built off of this backup phase that happened. So we have data that came in before C19, which is helpful because we know how it could go through a crash. We can see that we're now still technically up from these 3 touch points. We're up 4 to 500%. So that's good, because when we look at charts, like, I'll give an example. IOTA, that's the C19 crash. IOTA is at the base of the C19 crash. That's totally different than when we look at the VeChain chart. VeChain is up 400% from that level. All right. So it tells me that this is holding a little better than some of even the ISOs regarding the recent sell-off. And it did have price discovery, unlike a lot of the ISOs did not. I think only really like XDC did. So yeah, there's some more confidence here for sure. And these 3 touches are kind of similar essence to the 3 touches that we've seen here, just shortened. That does make sense to me. I would not be surprised with a triple bottom that has this one play that swoops a little bit lower, and perhaps it just swoops into this red line that I have saved at a penny, which is in alignment with this backup phase. So you have your spring, you have your SOS, and then you have your backup before buying climax. That's clean. And now if we break into that level, it would be between 0.15 and a penny. That's a nice accumulation range. That would probably be where my final accumulations are on this, and I don't want to have more than 10% of this position in my portfolio. It's a risky play given the climate we're moving into. But with the rise of China, logistics, tokenization of logistics, I feel confident at least having the project, and I don't feel it's going to zero. So that's the play there. And similar to Solana, I think I shared, or I forgot what token it was, but if this coin can make it above 3 cents, this red line, that's when it's going to move explosively into the golden pocket. So it will move from 3 cents to like 15, 14 cents, I think, pretty rapidly. And if you were to consider if that is only what it did, then taking off of this horizontal trading range that we're at right now, that would be an 800% play. It's really, really solid. Again, that stuff that we saw with Shiba Inu in the last cycle, that's not happening again. I really do not feel like it's going to have those sorts of opportunities moving forward. They're going to regulate the shit out of this market next year and prevent stuff like that from even being listed on exchanges. You're going to make it very, very tough. So yeah, I'm going to leave it at that for VeChain. I feel like that is the level that I would be considering. Anything around these two. And let me show you right here, this trend line. It's been crazy how accurate these 2 trend lines are. Look, rejection, rejection, popped above it, back test, back test. So this red trend line that we have here, look at where it syncs up with the bottom of this. It's somewhere intersecting around November 13th. So that, to me, that would, oh, look at there, November 2020. It went into that last level around November. That could be it. That could be it. It could literally be just a repeat. Perfect. That'd be cool. Damn, it likes November. Look at that. Just trading perfectly into the end of October right there. Weird. All right. Well, there you go. We could be seeing in the month of November, early November, a really amazing buying opportunity on altcoins, because they're all going to move pretty similarly. And we know Bitcoin is the first mover, and then it sends everything down with it. Same thing with buying. When it goes into Bitcoin season, altcoins lag behind until that dominance kind of spills over into the altcoins, and then you have alt season. So when Bitcoin sells off, it's going to bring pressure on the alts, but then that pressure will sustain downwardly whilst Bitcoin is even bouncing. That's why being in alts before a Bitcoin halving doesn't feel so great, unless you're trading. Of course, if you're trading, you're always capable of playing the game. So there it is. I think that's a really important thing to. And then in the meantime, everything between penny and 3 cents is just a horizontal trading range. It's really nothing to discuss. Now, I noticed this VeTho token went off a couple days ago. It's like 100% gains in 2 days. That's how these governance tokens move. They're just very explosive, very random. But now it's settled down, and it's looking like this is a nice W pattern, but I would not fall for that. not on a governance token, not with something that's trading at a fraction of a penny. So I really like this horizontal trading range here. Let me show you what I'm talking about. It goes through the entire chart history of VTHO. Here is your C19 crisis. This is your SOS. This is your backup phase. We get resistance at that level, but once we broke above it, boom, buying climax. Then after your buying climax, perfectly into this area on the selling climax, and then thus far a triple bottom. This is all opportunity for this project because it's just going to ride the coattails of VeChain. And if this thing can get above this level right here of 002, pretty much, I'm going to show you what it's going to look like. Yeah, about here. Yep. Make that blue. If it could get above that level, it's going to zoom right into the golden pocket, and that's an insane amount of gains because anything from where we're at here, moving up to the golden pocket, again, about a 10x. Now, we're not calling for price discovery even on this stuff. We're showing you conservatively how much of an opportunity that would be. Keep that in mind. We're not like moon boys here. We're looking at this in a sophisticated way. That'd be an incredible move. So those are the quick thoughts on VeChain VTHO. If VeChain was to pull off that move down to a penny, we will be seeing a retest of this level right here. Same story for VTHO, and that is an opportunity for me. Again, I wouldn't keep these overall under 10% of my overall portfolio. I wouldn't put anything more than that in these speculative altcoin plays. Now we're looking at WorldCoin, which again popped off yesterday, a couple days ago, and now it's down 15%. So a really exuberant move. It was probably like a buy the rumor, sell the news event. Very weak chart. Let me delete this and show you what's going on. We have from the swing high to the recent swing low, a move straight into the 236 plus a rejection. Who would have saw that coming? Now we're going to remove this and show you that we have a horizontal trading level right here at $1.34. That was your first test, broke below, rejection, double rejection. Let me make it look like that so it's a little cleaner for you. Now we're getting right back below it again. So this tells me if we set up our bearish fib from this 134 level and bring it to the current high that we have, this gives us our 1618 on the downside, the golden ratio. That's 46 cents. So that's more likely the next place this project is moving. Now that's in alignment Friday the 13th. Friday the 13th, October 13th, the day before the solar eclipse. There it is. So that would be what I would be looking at personally. Right there, boom, perfectly intersecting 46 cents. Now I would not touch this thing right now. I would let it cool off. I would really not get involved in this personally. I'm waiting on this, and I wouldn't put more than 3% of my portfolio. I would treat this like venture capital if I was to even invest. I know ChatGPT is like doing well, and what's that guy's name? Sam Altman, like whatever. But this is not gonna be what a lot of people think. I am aware of AI and the power that it has, and I think it's a cultural moment right now that's getting a lot of hype. We need to see how regulation sets in and what's going to happen with the end of this Ripple case and a lot of other things like that. What could be going on with liquidity issues at banks and exchanges. That's what's the bigger picture. That's what matters more. And that's why this chart looks like this. It's brand new, but it's been on a perpetual downtrend since it came out. Probably low volume. You could see with the choppiness of how many days it went on this sell-off. So it had this exuberant launch, but as long as Bitcoin is not in price discovery, shit like this is just going to chop around. So yeah, if this thing gets back to 46 cents, that's not holding it back from going straight down to 15 cents again. That's why I'm saying I'd be cautious on getting overly focused on a project like this. I wouldn't put too much of my prana in it right now. Now, as we get closer to the next Bitcoin halving, maybe like Q2 of 2024, we'll reevaluate where this chart is at, and then we'll see what's up. But we have no idea how this thing can go during a huge sell-off in the market. And if we do get a sell-off in the NASDAQ, the traditional markets, that will lead to a Bitcoin sell-off. And if Bitcoin goes down below 20K into 16, 17K, this thing will get crucified. It will absolutely break even probably lower than 40 cents and into this 10, 15 cent range. So I'm not confident in stuff like this, even though I'm aware of the underlying technology and what's to come for this world with digital identification systems, such as what this project promises, some sort of social score, digital identification tied to biometrics. Like, we know the game. So I'm going to leave it at that. I hope you guys enjoyed today's Red Pill podcast. Good timing on this one, right around an hour. And again, like I shared in the beginning, I do have that flash sale on the course. We have the one that's over on YouTube with the promo code Jubilee. But if you guys want to invest in a course, make sure you use the promo code Mastermind. That's the one that's going to give you an even bigger discount, 25% off any of my courses. Again, one-time payment for lifetime access, no time commitments at all. Take it at your own pace. And again, really appreciative of all of your support. I'm wishing you all a beautiful rest of your weekend in the Matrix. Looking forward to connecting again next week. Much love.